welcome back to the Candy Kingdom with Lace and Misty. The Candy Kingdom is a podcast for littles and bigs, where we provide resources and support and a safe space to learn together. So sit back, grab your sippy, stuffy and passy, and let's play! Hi, welcome back to the Candy Kingdom with Lace and Misty. Thanks for tuning in. We've got lots of fun stuff in store today. This episode is mostly going to focus on advice around finding munches, going to a munch alone, what you can expect, what others expect from you in terms of behavior, also what even is a munch.
Yeah.
So following our somewhat heavy episode on drop, we wanted to do something a bit lighter, just to kind of like lift the mood, yeah. So before we jump into all that, Misty, what is in the news today?
Glad you asked. So you may have noticed that your little episode icon thing is a bit different than it was our last episode. And so we commissioned Ursa Cutie, I hope I'm saying that right, to make us a new graphic, which is what you see here. She's super, super talented. She's amazing to work with, so accommodating. I asked for a million things that were a bit different to what you had been saying to her already.
Yes, you did.
So we are still figuring out the challenges between running several accounts between two different people. Like, I'll just be like, I haven't seen this email, and then it's like, oh, I read it already, so it doesn't show up for you. So it's really, really awesome, and we hope we can work with her in the future. So she's on social media, and I would highly recommend getting a commission from her if you're looking for someone who is part of the community and is amazingly talented and
is also very ethical. They're very much like no minors in kink, and they have, I think their name on Instagram is URSA Cutie, so like Ursa Cutie, but
I will put the link as well to any of their social media.
I think their art accounts go under Faulty Overlord.
I did think that was funny.
And I think they also are a designer with Little's Lab, which do some really awesome like onesies and like little stuff, and I think they've actually designed some onesies for them. Yeah, which I think is so cool.
I know, so cool. Other updates. I'm not going to bore you guys about my worms. They're super cool.
I love my children. Tell me about my children.
They're having such a good time. I fluffed them out the other day so they could get some oxygen, and I'm only supposed to open them once a week, like I've said, but every day I'm like, hey, what are you guys doing in there? You guys wiggling and stuff? That tastes good.
They're so beautiful. I just love them.
I just think they're amazing that they're like, hey, we love your stuff, and then we're going to also give you some pee. And like, it's just really cool to me that they're going to be amazing for my garden. And it's good for the environment.
All the environment stuff is reciprocal in nature. So like,
I love it. Yeah. It's really making me happy. I also told my roommate about kink and also not being straight. So that went pretty well. She's a youngin'. She's like 3 years older, younger than me. So I think I have a little bit more life experience. So she was pretty fascinated by it. Yeah, and then the last couple things are about our episode release schedules. You may have noticed this is our first episode in August, and that's just because we have lots of other stuff going on.
We're a mess.
Going through some life changes right now, health issues, all sorts of stuff.
It's really nice of you to say. It's really nice of you to say like it's a we thing. It's definitely a Lace thing. So
you keep saying that, yet when you're like, I can't do it, I'm like, sweet, video games time, sweet, time to do something. Look, not that I don't like doing this. It's just that it can cause me a bit of performance anxiety. So when it's like the opportunity to do something else, I'm like, yes, okay, let's go.
Just to make sure that no one goes into panic mode. I'm fine. I'm good. It's just like long-term health issues that have finally got some answers and are requiring
which we're very grateful for.
Yeah, and it's just sort of requiring that I basically turned my whole life upside down to manage it. But it's been a rough couple of weeks just adjusting to the new. It's particularly around diet stuff, so I can't eat meat. I'm allowed to actually eat chicken and fish, but for me, they're kind of gateway drugs to the beef, which I love and miss.
I love that so much. Yeah, so, she won't listen to me. I've seriously been like, you need to go and get Impossible meat beyond beyond meat or whatever.
Yeah, I know. I will. I'm going to.
You say this, and I am going to get crazy with you and order it and send it to your house, and you're not going to have any choice.
I'd like that actually, but the thing is that I just kind of want to focus on not eating meat of any kind. Like if I'm not allowed to eat it, I'm not gonna like kind of wrangle my way. I'm the kind of person that's like, well, fine, if I can't eat meat, then all I'm gonna eat is potatoes and pasta and things. So,
which is really great for you.
Yeah. Well, actually, no, I'm not supposed to have that many carbs. No. But
whatever. Anyway, next episode, I'm gonna be like, I ordered her some damn Impossible meat because she doesn't freaking listen to me.
There's actually there's a vegan shop not far from.
Oh my god, are you serious? I'm gonna beat you, and not in a nice way.
Oh, I shouldn't. I mean, always in nice ways as far as I'm concerned. But anyway,
this is why we're wives.
Yeah. But anyway, cool. So, episodes are going to be sporadic, but we are going to be
bear with us. Thank you for sticking. With us, and then we've also spoken about the potential to start making proper blog posts, because I noticed that sometimes, we do the episode and then I'm like, oh, I wish I'd, remembered this point, or I'd find something a little bit later. So I think it would be cool to sort of, do episodes and then do blog posts that complement them instead of, just repeating the same kind of thing. Yeah, but that's it for me for news. Did you have any news?
Kind of segueing into stuff. So we're going to be talking about Munches today, but are we also going to be talking about parties as well, or like just any sort of social
I was thinking events? First just Munches, because I still need to get my head around play parties. Well, like in terms of what I think is important to talk about in play parties. So
the difference between a munch and a play party is a munch is usually like
in a vanilla setting,
sort of. It's family friendly without being family friendly. Like, you don't dress a fetish. You usually meet up at like a place that is a vanilla place. And I mean, you can, but you run the risk because you're in a public setting for the most part. Whereas
that's one of the point that I made later on. So you wearing that kind of stuff outs other people without their consent. So if I showed up to a munch where there's families around and potentially people, like our munches are in pubs. So if it's potentially people that I know and that I work with that are going to be there, and I show up and there are people, wearing leather, like, just stuff that's clear, like leather, collars. If they were wearing collars, I would just be like, and not discreet ones. I would just be like, all right, nope, I'm going to pretend that I came here for something else, because if someone else saw me with that, they'd at least wonder,
It opens up a line of questioning that you shouldn't feel obligated to answer.
Exactly, and just because someone else was like...
felt like being a lifer.
I'm out, so who cares about the rest of you?
Yes. So that's a munch, whereas a play party is different. It's usually in a closed, vetted environment. You sometimes have to pay to get in. In fact, most of the time you have to pay to get in. And it's usually like the overseers or the dungeon master or whatever will make sure that each person that's coming is safe and has been watched be played before and all that sort of thing. So that is an environment where you can just go nuts and do whatever you want in terms of like wearing things and talking about things. So So anyway, let's jump into
and then munches are usually open as well.
Yes. Yes. And anyway, we'll get into this. So let's get into the episode.
So I thought maybe let's talk about, how to find a munch. Yeah. I know so many people are intimidated by this, and I can't relate. Because I'm just a weirdo who is like, I'm just going to go to this thing by myself and see what,
I'm the same.
What happens? Screw it. Let's just do it. So some of our advice is going to be about, how to psych yourself up to go to one. But first, finding a munch. FetLife is still the easiest way to find a munch, which is unfortunate for people who, boycott it for righteous reasons, including the fact that it's full of creeps, or it can be. Yeah.
I think that in terms of with FetLife, for me anyways, because kink is still, CGL is still fairly kink, words would be good in a good order, that makes sense. Because CGL is still fairly niche within the BDSM community, I find that I am not going to discriminate and not go to an event just because it's not just for CGL. Yeah. So I have...
You're not going to be going to much. I didn't mean to say that. You're not going to be going to much if you're just
going to CGL. In my state, or in my city, there's one CGL event which I can't ever go to because it's on a dang Tuesday night, which is when I play D&D, which sucks. I'm so sad about it because I really want to go. But anyway, and that's it, so every other thing that I go to, and to be frank, I don't really go to Munches all that much anymore. I mostly stick to play parties, but the Munches I've gone to in the past have been with all different types of people within BDSM. So I think if you're a person who doesn't think that CGL falls under BDSM, then first of all, you're wrong, and I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, I was going to say, what are you doing? Why are you listening to this? To correct your incorrect opinion?
But also, don't think that you can't go to Munches that aren't specific for CGL, because you might have a niche interest that is going to be catered for or is shared by people who are on other parts of the dynamics, like tops or subs or furries or a variety of stuff. Is it PC to say furries?
I don't know what that is.
Furries. People who like go to animal play. Yeah.
Oh, yes, that's okay. Oh, okay, girl, I was hearing a word for the common folk that would not be okay to say about gay people.
No, furries.
Yes, got it. It's your accent. Okay, she is talking about FURRIES. Yes.
You know what? I don't even want to know what you thought I was saying.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. So, yeah, you're going to find that just because somebody isn't into the exact same kink as you does not necessarily mean that they're not going to be like-minded.
Can I also just say that, we're still all people. You're going to find someone who's interested in something. You're going to find someone to connect with. And I understand, I had social anxiety for a really, really long time. So I understand that, you're worried about, being judged. But Munches are full of people who are, to be frank, we're kinky. We're kind of used to being judged by society. So it should be a non-judgmental space.
People that are just like you, just like me, just like, all trying to get the same thing, which is find community within a niche interest that has a lot of judgment around it from the vanilla boring people. So,
we can't say that the vanillas are boring. They're just different.
They just are, but that's okay. But yeah, FetLife is a very, very useful tool for finding different events in your area. But it's also, I find, a difficult community to crack into because you need to show up and be present.
Yes,
if you want to be
it's hard as an introvert.
Yeah, it is. But if you want to be included in events and included in the discourse and included in the community, you actually have to show up physically, because there's so many people who
talk say the talk.
They talk the talk online, but then they don't, and a big part of the safety part, and look, the BDSM community is self-regulating, so a big part of how to be in that safety net is to show up, and then people can vouch for you.
Exactly.
That's just kind of how it goes. It's the referral system. So hop on to FetLife, have a look at upcoming events in your area, see what there is.
There is also an awesome website called findamunch.com, which I'll throw the link in there for. So it's a bit, I think it's still updated, but it's very much like the set up in the older style of internet things. I don't know. It just reminds me of just some of those older websites. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but
I'm looking at it now. It's like a forum.
Yeah, exactly.
They've got the word update with a computer mouse with a wire attached to it.
Yeah, see, it's older style.
What are you doing? But
anyways, so
but they have Australia.
Whole, yes, they've got it organized by country.
Oh, it seems to streamline off FetLife. a
Yes,
lot.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It basically links to, but it's easier to like search for things based on where you are because it's got it all on there, like right hand style, and it's got different groups. Whereas you don't have to spend time, searching through FET to
That
find.
being said, I'm looking at it for my state, and it's like events from back in like 2015.
That's what I was saying. I'm
Yeah.
not very sure if they're updating regularly and if some of the groups that they've put there even still exist. So,
so
take
funny.
that one with a grain of salt. But it might be where you find something.
I found a fun one that happened quite regularly. I think it was like a swingers party.
Oh, yeah?
And it's called the Squirters of South Australia. For
I love
gushers,
it.
squirters, and those who love them. And look, I don't
Wow.
mind people knowing that I'm in SA. Like, there's like a lot of people here, so whatevs. But yeah, that's really fun. I love it.
Yeah, and then there's also obviously the DDLG specific and CGL specific websites, but I don't know how much luck you'll have finding Munches because they usually serve as just, chats. But you might get lucky. Someone might post something.
Never actually had much luck with those sort of kink specific, or will be DDLG or CGL specific groups. To be honest, they all just seem to be like random hookup things and like.
Yes, exactly.
Anyway, so that's where you can find them.
And then if you're really, really, really lucky, Reddit has a bunch of kink communities that you may be able to find them posting about Munches. But really, sadly, the easiest way is through FetLife. I'm sorry. I wish it was different. I wish you could just dial someone up and be like, yo
where the munch at? Hey, Misty, what was your first munch?
So my first munch was like a week. Actually, no. Okay, so I was moving from a town 2.5 hours away from where I am now into this town, and I just went to because I knew I was going to be moving here. I just ended my relationship. I was like, oh, it's finally time to get kinky. I've been like on the outskirts of these things. I've been looking at stuff, but I'd never actually done any of it because of my relationship. So then, they posted an open munch on FetLife that was like, I'm not going to say my town, but yeah, they have it every month, I believe. And I hadn't even moved to this town yet. I was still living in the other one. So I drove 2.5 hours to attend. But I was really lucky because once I clicked attending or even maybe, the hosts messaged me straight away and just said a bunch of stuff like this is what to expect. And, I said to them, this is my first one. So, they kind of took me under their wing a little bit and made me feel a little bit more comfortable. And then when I got there, it was really awesome because there was another American there in this small Australian country town. And yeah, we had a chat and it was nice hearing someone else's an accent that was similar to mine. It was mostly people who were a little bit older, so that can happen, obviously, if it's an open munch. Older people have more life experience. They have more knowledge about what they like, so they're more likely to be...
They can.
Yeah, they're more likely to be the higher population just because they've already figured these things out about themselves. So I was definitely the youngest one there by like 20 years. It was still nice, though, and that is actually where I met one of the ladies, which is where I'm going to talk about the benefits of going to a munch. One of the ladies who runs a dungeon with her master. I met her there. And for their play parties, you need to either have met them or have been vouched for by someone else who still has to go there. Like the person can't vouch for you and then say, okay, you have fun. They have to go there with you. So I was really lucky because I didn't even make the connection that we met. So I messaged her and she was like, oh yes, I've met you. And she made me laugh because she was like, I know you don't have like 3 heads and you're not, wielding a knife type of thing. So yeah, that was really good. And that's where I go all the time now. So that's how I found out about it. Really lucky. How about yours?
My first one was a book club, and it was an experience. I'd never been in a kink environment where people spoke openly about kink before, so they were talking about like.
So it wasn't a vanilla venue. I should have said that mine was at a pub.
Oh, mine was at a cafe, but it was a cafe that's run by a woman who is into kink. So the cafe was closed. Yeah, it was 1,000,000 degrees. It was so hot. I was like melting. And we were talking about this book called 90 Days of Sodom or something, Marc Desade. It's supposed to be like it's an older book. It's written in like the, do you know, I'm not even going to speculate, 14 or 1500s maybe. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, a while ago. And it's basically this horrific book about priests who groom and prey on young children. And they were talking about this book and why it's beneficial to read it and to know about it. Number one, I guess the one thing was that it's like, you know, the whole Catholic priest thing it's not just a new thing. It's been happening for a very, very long time. It's an institution, so that's a problem. But also it was like, they were trying to paint it as like, this is the background of BDSM. And I'm like, I don't think it really is. But, you know, that was the event I went to. They were talking about flogging. They were talking about needle play. They were talking about all variety of stuff. And I was like, what's going on? But
that is so funny. Wait, so you didn't know about kink before you went? I'm confused.
I was
Why
aware
were you
of what
freaking out?
I knew. Remember, I went into CGL.
The opposite way. Right.
So I only knew about like DDLG and
cuddling.
Yeah.
And then these people are like,
and I was like, impact play? Oh, you mean spanking? Oh yeah, I'm into that. I didn't know.
Oh, I would love to see that. Mate. See, I think I got baptized a little bit easier than you because we were obviously in a vanilla setting, so we had to speak a lot about it in code and
this was a really open event. And then they were talking about for the book club for the next meeting or some other time we should watch. There was a movie made about it, and I'm like,
oh snap!
I don't think I can cope with that.
You're like, I'm too little.
I'm too little for this. But the woman who was one of the key organizers, her and her master run the Newbies Munch, which is a munch that's been designed for overseers of like people who have really prominent and prolific parties or events to come to, so that and all the safe vetted people who are not predatorial and stuff like that all go to this event, and the new people go along as well, so that kind of creates a connection in a community, and then you know who's safe, who's not, blah blah blah, and what events you can go to and be comfortable in. So because of that much, that's how I knew to go to this other thing. So, you know, it was kind of cool. I don't think I went to another one of the book club meetings. I kind of just couldn't make it work in my schedule, but it was really good, kind of low key, sort of. I thought it was going to be a low key introduction to kink.
It ended up being intense.
Oh, mate, it was intense. Anyway.
So, those were our experiences, and as usual, they were a little bit different because that's what this community, it's a mixed bag. It depends on so many different factors. But I do really like the hosts that reach out to you. That I think that's fantastic. Same. I think it makes you feel so welcome. And it puts you at ease a little bit. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about the place that I usually go to, which is called the R, which I'm comfortable saying because I do drive there, so it's not like where I actually live. But anyway, so what are the benefits? Like, why should you go to a bunch? Why should you go to a bunch of munches?
You meet people that are just like you, and you find out about other events and play parties and stuff. If you're into that kind of thing,
you find out new information as well. Like, people are always learning in this community. There's never going to be a time where any one person knows every single thing about, BDSM and kink. So. And then think about what you can contribute to, because the last new munch / later on it turned into a play party. The last one that I went to, we had this whole discussion between generations about what being transgender is and why the word queer isn't necessarily, a slur anymore. It's something that people are reclaiming. And obviously that wasn't totally kink focused, but it was really nice to educate the other generations in this is what's okay to say and not say. And obviously there's a huge intersection between those communities and kink. So that was cool. So you might have something to offer as well.
It's so if you have the same minds working on the same things, you're going to kind of go around in circles sometimes. Not always, but,
exactly.
So if you bring fresh perspective, that can be really welcomed. And I think people in kink, for a lot of the time, are very open-minded and willing to learn new things from anywhere and anybody. And I think this is something that we were talking about on our new little Discord server earlier today, which was that, you know, we've got to be really conscious of not being ageist and dismissing somebody because they're either too old or too young.
Too young, yeah.
So, yeah. Well, too young being of legal age or above.
We don't need to talk about that because I just don't even want to think about what I saw today. I was going to put that in the announcements as well. But
we'll talk about it next week. That's so good.
Yeah, we'll talk about it next week. It's not life or death. So yeah, I'm trying not to say in a bunch of filler words as much, but I can't help it because that's just how my brain works.
It's actually the sign, I think, of intelligence where people like stop and think about and process.
Yeah, I heard that, but I also don't believe it because, you know, sometimes I sound real silly when I'm like,
No, you're being thoughtful. It's okay. Chill out, babe.
Yeah. So if you can think of any other benefits of going to a munch, let us know. Like, those are the things that I've we've kind of come up with, you know, based on our own experiences. Yeah. All right. So moving on to behavior. So what is actually expected?
So, it's as it says, usually in a typical vanilla environment, kink wear is inappropriate. CGL behavior of any kind, pet names, baby talk, etc. I mean, it's important to have a low protocol setting for your kink with your partner. So in public, calling someone daddy might be a bit inappropriate. So it's good to have.
I don't think it's a bit inappropriate. I think it's totally not okay.
I mean, depending on where you are. In the situation that I was in, where it was a munch, it was at a cafe, but nobody was there. That's fine.
Yeah, it was all kinky people. Fair enough. Go for your life. Scream daddy at the top of your lungs. Do what you want.
But in a public sort of environment, especially if it's a quiet space, then
and this is where I have experienced personally prejudice from my kinky community about littles, because they have had other littles who are just don't respect that. They just don't respect it. Being little is part of my personality, so it's just something that I'm not going to bother trying to regulate. It's just I am entitled to being this way because I emanate. I don't know if that's the right word, but emulate? I don't know. I mimic a mindset of a younger person. So I'm also just going to throw out my responsibilities as an adult in my behavior. Not okay.
I think it's very important in all types of situations to consider those around you. Be kind in your behavior. I know
consideration goes a long way. Yeah. And guess what? If you don't do that, you're not going to be invited again.
And littles get such a bad rap, and a lot of the time it is behavioral based. And your mummy or your caregiver might think that it's super cute.
Yes.
But the local dominant sadist, probably not so much.
Actually, I'm going to say that the sadist that runs the dungeon has personally told me that I am adorable, which I take great pride in.
Well, but you are. But that's because you had a conversation. If you're at a munch with a bunch of people you don't know, which tends to be like, unless you're a figurehead in the community or you've been around long enough, like people to know your behavior. But if you just run around being a dick, just because, it's my personality, you're going to get a really bad rap, and then you won't be invited. You go, you'll put down that you want to attend, and you have to, and then they'll say, oh, no, sorry, we're full.
Yes.
When they're not full. They just don't want to deal with your shit. So there's a time and a place for all 100%. Things. I mean, sadists don't walk around whipping people constantly.
I know. I was just thinking, like, if
so why is our play
rocked up at an event and was just like spanking their palm with
No, but that
with a
doesn't happen.
belt. Like, yeah, I'm a sadist, man. I can't just turn it off. It's my
Yes.
personality. Like, that's not
Exactly.
okay. That's not
So
okay.
it's really important that if you can't control your little outbursts, you don't go to a munch.
Nope, you don't get to go to a munch. I just feel like it's a privilege, not a right. Act right, and you will be right. So then there's also general munch etiquette. So like I said, people usually will talk in code a little bit, but they will also ask you a little bit about yourself in a way that isn't 100% obvious to, if someone were to walk by and catch a snippet of it, it would just be like, oh, okay, they're talking about a hobby that they have in common. And that's something
it's not going to be like they walk past and be like, oh, I'm into gangbangs and calling people daddy. That's a really uncomfortable thing for someone with children to hear.
Yeah,
especially if children are there. So,
yes. And so that's, I lost my train of thought. What was I saying?
You were talking
about the code.
They'll talk to you in code and they won't necessarily be overt.
Yeah, so that's something that the munch that I went to was about. It was like, I got nervous because I was like, what if the staff, or like, what are these people meeting about? And someone was just like, oh, it's just a common hobby that we all have. Like, that's all you need to say to them. And if they ask for more, you can just, you don't have to answer. You can just kind of pretend you didn't hear them or just like, walk away. So that's something that your questions can be framed around. And your answers can be framed around. So, like, I got asked things like, how long have I known about the lifestyle? Or,
you often hear kink referred to as the lifestyle a lot because then it can be very
vague.
Yeah.
The lifestyle of not eating meat, something like that. We're just really passionate vegetarians, which is totally awesome. So,
a lot of the time also, if you look around enough in particular places like FetLife, you will find the etiquette somewhere or the expectations or stories of someone who didn't do the right thing and what the consequences were. And if you don't know, ask. Just ask and say, look, I'm new.
God,
if you reach out and say, this is my first event like this, or I'm inexperienced at these sorts of events, can I please sort of shadow you on the day, or can you introduce me to some people who will be happy to, have me close and help me understand, what's right, what's not right? Then that shows initiative, and that shows that you're being respectful, or at least you want to be.
Exactly.
And that's a really good sign.
You're not just going to show up as a know-it-all. And people in this community are so keen to be like, oh my God, you're new. This is something that I really enjoy, and let me show you around. So so there's different things like that. And also what I really like are that events now, because the same sort of people organize events, they run their own groups, which comes with a set of their rules. So definitely have a read of those. Don't just say, I read these rules. Like in one of the other little groups that I run, there's a secret question in the rules for you to answer to show that you've actually read them. And the amount of people who are like, yes, I read the rules. And I'm like, did you really though? Now you look like a jerk because you're pretending you read the rules and you didn't.
Yeah. So, for example, there is a person in the community who has a den that they hold parties at, and they also hold seminars there too, because it can be converted into like a learning space quite easily.
Sick. Oh God, I'm so jealous of your scene.
So the deal is, though, when you're at this place, you're not allowed to have your phone. No, it can't be on, it can't be seen, it can't be anywhere. And that is cross-event. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter it doesn't matter what you're there for, whether it's a play party or if it's a seminar. If you have your phone out, you're going to be in trouble. And that's just because it's just the organizer. They've just made that decision because a lot of people that are new don't know the rules about photography and how to take a photo without having somebody else potentially in it. Yeah. That doesn't want to be, and that photo then shows up on social media somewhere, and they're like, oh, look where I was, and they might be out, but you're not out, so it's that thing again of not outing somebody. But they also just want to have conversations. They don't want people sitting around on their phones. They want people to actually talk.
Yes, that's a good
I think that's a kind of, I think that particularly is a bit of an antiquated idea because I use my phone to add people on social media, to make connections, to show them funny stuff or to look stuff up, but this is not about what I think or want. This is the organizer and their decision and what they want, and therefore you have to respect that.
You do have to respect it because they're putting this space out there for you. It's like showing up at a normal party and just being a jerk. Like, that's not fair.
This particular space is actually the home of this person. So they're opening their home, which has been purposefully fitted out to be, because they're what they call a lifer, which is somebody who doesn't have any vanilla friends and, you know, is totally open to with everybody about it. But even still, they still have a, you know, they have a responsibility to create a safe space for everybody.
Yes,
and this is just the method that they've chosen to use. So if you don't know that etiquette,
and you show up
and you start doing the wrong thing, it's going to look really disrespectful. So
see, at the one that I go to, the rule is if you can have your phone out. Although I got in trouble, Daddy took my phone away because I was on it too much, and I just get nervous and I like having it in my hand, which then inevitably leads to me like messaging people. But the rule there is if you have it up and you're taking pictures, it's gonna go in the pool. So if they see that, it gets chucked straight in the pool. So I don't want to risk that. And they are lucky enough. This venue is amazing. I can't sing praises about it enough, but they also have professional photographers who do this like voluntarily, and then they will give you amazing shots afterwards. And I even got a video last time. So,
and that's a part of the thing. You'll find a lot of places will do that if they say, look, no photography, but we've got people that will be here.
Yes.
So they can do it for you.
Because they have the capacity to edit out.
Yeah.
People.
Or they just know how to set it up so that there won't be unsuspecting people in the background. It's the same at the rope school that I go to. They will allow photos, but they will say, you know, we want to organize it, and they want to see the photo after and make sure it's okay and blah, blah, blah. So these are just etiquette and responsibility things. And if you're being little and you say, look, and like in your case, for example, where you're like, I need to have my phone with me because it's a distraction when I'm feeling anxious. Not that that's a little specific thing, but you know, it's good to have I guess a comfort item.
Yeah.
You know, take something else. Take a teddy bear. Take a book. You know, take anything that's not your phone.
I got
a Tamagotchi, for God's sake. Like,
that was nice. I got to hold Daddy's hand.
Aw, that's cute.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Nice.
But if you're not going with a caregiver to an event, you know.
Yes, true. Then it's
good to have backups. Yeah.
So the other thing is, what if you recognize someone you know? I honestly keep thinking I'm going to see my boss. I swear to God.
I actually have a story. Yes,
go ahead.
So this was at a play party, but I saw a girl from work there, and she didn't recognize me.
Oh.
Well, she didn't see me. She might have like seen me, but it was dark, and she didn't recognize. And I was, you know, wearing cat ears and like a collar. Not how she usually sees me. And I was like, fuck, what am I gonna do? And I just made the decision I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna approach her and just be like, okay, this is what it is. And so I just walked up to her and I was like, hey. And she's like, oh, hey. And she realized who I was. And she was like, oh, my God. She was laughing. She was cracking up, and she couldn't stop laughing for like 15 minutes because she was just like shocked. And she's like, oh, my God, I'm so happy. I'm so glad you're here. Oh, mate, there are so many people at work that are kinky. You don't even know. And she kind of made the mistake of actually outing other people to me by being like, oh, excited. And I was like, oh, okay. But I, you know, obviously I'm a safe person. I'm not going to approach them at work or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're into this.
So that's what I was going to say. If you see someone that you recognize, you may acknowledge yourself at the munch, but do not freaking acknowledge each other, like, in your vanilla space unless you both, like...
Look, I've bumped into people in different places.
Yeah.
It happened to me last weekend. I saw a person who usually goes to my rope class, and I was at a cafe with my partner. We were having some breakfast, and I saw him, and I kind of just smiled at him and said, hey, and he's like, oh, hey. And then he came over after and he introduced himself to my partner, and it's all cool, like, no big deal. But you know, he might have been really uncomfortable by me being like, hi, Luke, come over here, or Ben, or Joel, or whatever their name is, you know. So that I think is a thing you have to be careful of. It also happened that there's a female dom in the community who's an absolute sweetheart who I love and adore. And I saw her on the train, and I just didn't know what to do. So I kind of just looked at my feet for ages, and she was kind of like smiling and on her phone and stuff, and I was just like staring at my feet, trying not to hyperventilate. And then,
you're adorable.
And then she messaged me after and was like, "It was so cute watching you squirm because you didn't know what to do, and you were being good and the rules and everything."
Oh God, you're adorable. My little
but then afterwards,
heart is
she's
so proud of you.
But then afterwards, she's like, "But you know what? It's okay because my kids know that I'm into an extracurricular thing. This is my name. This is my nickname in that particular community. And they have nicknames as well." And so she's kind of given them the sort of general gist of it without being specific.
An age-appropriate
explanation. Yeah, that's right. So, and we had that conversation after the fact. But because we hadn't had it at the time, I didn't want to be like, talk to her, when she may not be, she might have been really upset if I'd, spoken to her on the train, and she could have been with co-workers. It could have been anything. So,
yeah.
You got to be careful.
You've got to read the scene, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And then Munches can have lots of different age ranges, like I said before. So, oh, sorry, I'm moving on from what if you recognize someone you know, because there's not really much else to say about that.
No, that's it.
So some Munches can be age specific. So there's one that happens in Brisbane that's under 40s. Mm-hmm. They can also be identity specific. So there is the ABDL Munch that I'm supposed to have gone to twice now.
Get your act together.
I'm sorry, but the first time Daddy was like a surprise extra daddy time, and I was like, yes, thank you. And then the second time I was just freaking tired, so I didn't go. But I will be going. But it is really
important if you put yourself down as I'm going, and then you just don't rock up, they may have made accommodations for you, so you need to, tell them.
I did put maybe going, and it was part of the chat that I was in, so I already said, I was like, I'm not going to make it. Because, I'm sorry, surprise daddy time trumped it.
I know. But yeah, there's going to be lots of different types of people there, and so make sure that you, I guess, are conscious of whether or not this is going to be appropriate for you.
Yes, exactly, because it might be an identity that you are like...
If I'd known about what the book club was going to be discussing that day...
You would not have showed up.
Look, I probably wouldn't have gone, and it's just because it was so confronting. Yeah. So I didn't really have a chance. And I suppose if you're an organizer, please be very specific about what you're actually going to have as content, because I felt like a little bit, not triggered, but I was a bit like, it was really affronting for me.
Yeah. It was your first foray into...
Yeah. And I was like, oh, book club, that'll be nice. It'll be like,
Oh, that is so your style. Like, I'm going to go to a book club. You're adorable.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was a safe introduction. I was very wrong. But, yeah. So just be aware of what actually is going to be the content of the Munch. And you can reach out to organizers if you don't know, and if you need to know, and if you're worried about something. And littles do have different sensibilities, and some of us are a little bit precious, and that's okay.
It is absolutely okay.
Yeah.
So I guess we want to wrap up the episode with, what to do if you, or what you can do to make yourself more comfortable if you're going to a Munch alone. So just some tips, like we've been saying, reach out to the organizers, ask as many questions as you need to. I almost feel like if they get annoyed with your questions, then I wouldn't go, because they're not making an effort to make you comfortable and make you feel welcomed. So that's just what I think. I'm a creep, so I message people, like I will message other little girls. Usually I will not message another little boy, just because I don't want to come across as a creep, pretty much. Even though I'm also into girls, I just feel like it's a little bit less, I'm trying to creep on you. So I will message them on, if they have put that they want to go to an event, I will message them and just be like, hey, I haven't been to this before, and just open up a dialogue with them and see if maybe I could potentially become more comfortable with that person. And then it's like, I'm not going alone, I'm going there, and there's someone that I already know something about,
Yeah, exactly.
Makes it a little
and that's
bit...
okay to do. That's fine to do,
I think so as well. Because they might be looking for the same thing, but they just don't.
Exactly. You never know. You absolutely never know. So I think be brave. This community is really about bravery. You will thrive in this community if you're brave. And, you know, I went to my first munch by myself. I made some friends. And then the next event I went to, I knew them. And I was like, oh, hey, I remember you from something.
Exactly. And someone is always new, which I love, because then you get to be the person who's like, oh, yeah, so this is your first event. And, you know, what do you think? And
that was me on the weekend. I went to a play party and there was a girl and it was her first event ever at all. So I made sure to beeline to her every so often and be like, hey, how are you finding it? How did you see that? There was a lot of flogging going on at this party. So I was like, you know, how was that for you? How did you find that? Was it confronting? Do you need to debrief about it?
Oh, you're beautiful. I'm just like, so have you been in here? Very,
but you
like,
know
what do you think it is?
It's not the only person that beelined to her, and I was in that position before, and people made sure to, I mean,
checking on you.
The book club I went to, the organizer at the end of it, she said to me in front of everybody, because we were sitting around a table, and there was like a good 20 people there. She's like, so, how did you find it? And I'm like, oh, it was interesting and different. And she's just like, yeah, because this is your first event, isn't it? And it was like a one-on-one conversation, but like with everybody there. And I was like, observing. It was confronting. But anyway, chat to people. If anything untoward happens, tell the organizer as at the time that it happens. Literally, if someone, you know, I mean, if you have a conversation with someone and you feel a little bit uncomfortable, that's one thing. But if somebody starts asking you questions you don't want to answer, you say, look, I don't want to answer these questions, and they press you, get up, literally walk away, and go find the organizer and be like, yo, this person has done this predatory behavior. I need you to know. And they'll take care of you. That's their responsibility in that situation. And they will do it. They will do it.
Exactly.
Hey, guys, this is Editor Lace here. Misty's audio started doing something really weird at this point, and it was kind of unusable at the end, so I'm sorry about that. Basically, we were just talking about the idea that if you went to a munch and it was really full of like lots of people, like it was a very populated munch and you felt uncomfortable, Misty was suggesting that you could make a munch of your own to kind of accommodate to kind of a quieter, less busy, less populated sort of space. And I guess the only accommodation we did make in that suggestion was that it'd be careful that you don't tread on any toes. People might already have those sorts of munches either in the works or happening, and you don't want to, if a community is particularly small, you know, you don't want to have heaps of munches to sort of flood the munch market, as it were. So yeah, just be mindful of that. And we're going to move towards wrapping up the episode. The audio is still a bit weird, so I apologize for that. Okay, bye. Well, that I think is about everything on Munches. Yes. If you have any questions, let us know.
And also, like, we want to hear about, like, your tips.
Experiences, yes.
Yeah, what are your tips for going to a munch alone? What was your first experience, like, going to a munch? Have you ever been to a bad munch? Do you organize your munches? Like, there's so much around this topic, and we just love interacting with you guys.
Speaking of that, we've decided that we wanted to start a new segment where we kind of profile somebody who's followed us on social media. Yes. Because it's like so cool to get to know other people in the community and make friends. So we're not kind of sure exactly what we're going to call it. I like the idea of like the I can't even remember the name I was talking about.
The Royal Guest?
The Royal Guest, that's right. So this week's, I think it's going to be that, to be honest. So
I think it's cute as heck. So we want to know if you guys have any other suggestions, but
So this week's Royal Guest is a Twitter profile who started following us today that I was kind of interacting with. I love the name so much. It's so good. Dr. Princess Gucci Coochie SD.
Amazing.
So they are not safe for work, level 34 by professional whittle hot mess, belongs to, she got a daddy, the Switch, 18 plus, DM for France only, which I love. Yeah. They're into makeup, dress up and kink. They've got a decent following on Twitter. I've been going through their Twitter feed sort of on and off today, since they've started following us and whatever. And they posted some really cute content and some funny stuff and some stuff with their daddy. And the thing that I reposted just a second ago was they said there's not enough kittens eating yogurt, and there's a video of this cat, this baby kitten with their head in a yogurt tub, and they've just pulled their head out and it's just covered in yogurt.
Oh, precious.
So yeah, this person, the Dr. Princess Coochie, seems like a bit of a badass, and I encourage you to go follow them.
I just love it.
And thanks for following us, by the way, if you hear
Yes.
it, which you may not. But anyway, thank you.
Thanks. So thanks for listening, guys. We hope you enjoyed this episode. As usual, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to contact us at the Candy Kingdom on all our social media. We hope you have a sweet week, and we will catch you next time, Candy Crew. Bye.
Bye-bye.